Good day, everyone. Today we'll be looking at how to get user inputs, and we also look at while loops. And this is chapter 7 of our
Yeah.
Python course. And we have Arnold with us, and we're gonna be looking at this together. Yes. So now in this chapter, it focuses on making interactive by allowing them to access inputs and keep running using loops. Yes, where no, here is a summary of everything we're going to be looking at. Okay, so now to accepting user input. Okay, there's a built-in function in Python. Okay, this pauses the program, waits for user input, and for the user to type something in, and it always returns it as a string. And this is very critical to remember because sometimes you may ask for um, a number from a user, but whatever the user puts in, especially maybe in the terminal or wherever, is going to be a string. It's always going to be in a string format. So it's up to us to change it into an integer or a float to be able to do some specific mathematical operations on them. Okay. So we have numerical inputs. Yeah. Since input returns a string, you must use int function to convert to an integer if you want to perform mathematical operation. Yeah, that's true. We also have the modular, and this gives you a
Mm-hmm.
remainder. Yeah, this tool returns a remainder of a division. Yes, and this is very good if you want to check if something is an even number or an odd number. So, a number divided by two I'm sorry, not divided. A modular 2 means that you divide the number by 2, and the remainder, if that remainder is equal to 0, that means that's an even number. For instance, if you should divide, let's say, let's give an example over here. Let's say, um, print, let's say 9 modulo 2. Let's run this to see. So it gives us a remainder of 1 because it's more like you divide. So you divide it by 2, but you're gonna be left with extra 1. So it's like it's gonna go into it 8 times, right? But you're gonna be left with an extra 1, and then that's the extra 1 here. But let's say you divide let's say 10 into equal parts. You run this, it's gonna be 0 because there's nothing gonna be left if you half it into 2. There's not gonna be any remainder left. Yeah. So basically that's the gist of the modulo. And yeah. So we have a while loop also in Python, whereby it first ask you it's gonna do something. Uh, there's always a unlike a for loop, the while each which runs once for each item. A while loop runs as long as a specific condition is true. Mm. We have flags. We first put in flags as we heard of this in chapter 4. Yes, we flag. And flagging is more like put in a Boolean expression, true or false, before the starting the while loop. And flagging is quite dangerous because if you should put something true, it's always going to be true. And to break out of that, you use the break keyword or continue. Else it's going to loop forever. Or you could break the you could break the while loop by setting the active to false within the loop itself if a condition is met. Yeah. or not. Yeah, using. Okay, so we have this flag, a Boolean variable. So that's an example over here. Used to manage complex condition. The loop runs while the flag is true and stops when set to false. We have break, the break keyword. We have the continue keyword, and there's also another keyword called pass. That is just like it's still gonna run. That's pass means whatever is in the code should run. Yeah, but we focus on break and continue. Yeah. So immediately, uh, what- immediately exit the loop, regardless of the condition. Once we see break, it skips out of the loop, no matter how nested or embedded the break is in the function definition or the for loop is gonna break out of it completely. Yeah, we have continue. What a continue does is it skips the rest of the current code and blocks and it skips out of the rest of the current code block and returns to the beginning. So for instance, if you are printing out numbers and if the condition is if that number is equal to two, it's gonna skip. It's not gonna print out that two. It's gonna move to the next one and print three, four, five, up to yeah, up to where you want it to end. So basically, this is a sketch. We call it what you call it? It's a sketch. Yeah, but there's another name we give to this. Or uh, it's a schematics. Yes, schematics. So this is how a loop goes. The starts if the condition is true, it checks if the condition. If the condition is true, it's gonna execute the code. But in case it's false, it's gonna end the loop. So that's what happens. So it starts if the condition is true, it executes. So after executing, it still goes increment or decrement. If we don't add an increment or decrement, our loop is gonna loop forever. It's gonna break our terminal, or it's gonna get stuck. So to avoid that, we have to increment or decrement the whatever our iteration is. So yeah, and if it gets to our maximum target and our condition is false, now it's gonna check the condition. Then if it's false, then it loops out. It goes out of the loop. So that's what happens. So it's nice to picture this when we think of a while loop. So this is nice to have. So using loops with a list, using loops with a list in a dictionary. Remember, we can have a list in dictionaries, whereby, for instance, you have a lot of favorite colors. You can just say the key is going to be colors, and then your values is going to be the list. So we can have moving items. You can use while loop to move items from one list, yeah, like this to this. Yeah, we can use a while loop to move from one list to another. For instance, the first one is going to have a lot of items in it, and then the second one is going to have nothing in it. So while the condition is true that the first one is got still more items, we're going to still keep popping out that will be appending to the second one until the first one is empty. So that is what we can do with a while loop in a of a list in a dictionary. Yeah, and we can have removing of values. A while loop can eff- effectively remove all instances. As we remember that in chapter in our previous chapter where we looked at how to remove individual item, yeah, using the remove it removes the first instance of what is there. But using the while loop, it still keeps checking, then we can remove multiple of them. Yeah. And we have a filling dictionaries. You can use loops to collect um, user provided key value pair like a poll of names and favorite mountains. Yeah. So yeah, yes, we can store things like this in the dictionary. You can use loops to collect user provided key value pairs. Yeah, like a poll of names and favorite mountains. So it's gonna keep asking you, do you have another name to add? It's gonna keep asking, do you have a favorite mountain that you want to climb? It's gonna keep asking until you put in a specific thing. Like maybe you said type quit to exit out of a loop, or you could say you could put in a specific event maybe on the key that is gonna help you exit out of a loop. So that is it to help you fill in a dictionary, provided the dictionary is initially empty. Okay, so we have comprehensive or understandable example. Oh, okay. We have a movie ticket system. In a movie ticket system, we can prompt, yeah. So this example combines inputs type, yeah. So the combine we're using here, we are using concatenation, which is this symbol over here. Combine, yeah. And we're using a while loop, yes, the flag. And we're also looking at the flag as well. So this is what we are going to be looking at. So we have prompt. Please enter your age and see the ticket price. And we have here as well, prompt enter 0 to finish. So we have this concatenation. Yeah. Let's copy this and run it in our code so we see the outcome of it. Copy. Paste. So now let's run the code. And we can see here in our dictionary. Now, this please enter your age to see the ticket price. Enter 0 to finish. So now it's gonna loop. We're gonna be going forever and ever and ever until we meet that condition, which is 0. If it's equal to 0, it's gonna exit out of the loop, out of the while loop completely. So it's gonna check if age is 0, then active, which is our flag, is now gonna be false, and it's gonna help us to break out of the while loop. Or we could also use the break keyword if we don't want to use if we don't want to destroy the flag, which is the active. Okay, so that's what we have here. Let's see it. Let's open this wide so we can have a look. So I can put in any number. Let's say um, let me start this all over. Let's open this. Open the integrated terminal, and then we run a code. It's gonna take a little bit of time, but it's still gonna run. Yeah. So there we have it. Let me put it on the right hand side so we can have more space to read the other codes. Okay, so now we can see here is prompting us to, this is our first line. Initially, we can see an empty space here. This empty space is because of that \n. Yeah. So they're asking for a name, and it's also asking us to enter 0 to finish. So we have a flag. This is our flag. Anytime we see something assigned, and the value here is a boolean, that's called a flag in Python. I think in every programming language, that's a flag. So now we have a while loop. So now, because active is true, our condition is true, automatically, everything here is going to run. And this is going to run forever until our flag is killed by changing it to false within the code system. So now let's look at the first line, number 8. Now age input is equal to input. And what this does here it um it prompts, and this prompt here is going to be what exactly is here. You see over here in the prompt, that's what it's going to ask you. So all of this was stored in here. So now this one, it never prints anything out. It only prints from the number 8. So it prompts you from number 8. We can see the column here. And that column there is because of the column here. And at the end of the string inside the string of line number 2. So let's put in a number. Let's say 34. Now you see it still asks us again to put in another age again. Let's say 33. It's still gonna keep asking us. Let's say 35. Sorry, any number. It could even be negative. Let's see. Of course, we don't have negative ages, but any number you put in there, it's gonna keep asking you until you meet the requirement. Let's put in 0 now to see. Now, after putting 0, we escape out of the while loop. So it converts, so we can see whatever we get from the user is always in string, but to work with it, we need to convert that into an integer or a float or a complex number, depending on what you want to do. Yeah. So we convert into integer for comparison because we're going to compare numbers together. So if the age is equal to 0, then the flag is false. So we break out of it. So sometimes if you don't want to type this, you can just write break. It's going to work perfectly fine. It's going to help you break out of this. And we comment this out. But let's make use of this because that's what we are looking at. We are eliminating. Yeah. So we also have in the previous chapter, we looked at elif. But if you want to know more about it, please don't forget, you can look at the previous video that has been uploaded. Yeah. So we also have print. So in case the number is less than 3, your ticket is free because yeah. But if it's less or equal to 12, your ticket is not too expensive. It's only $10. Yeah. But that means if you are not 12 years or below, then your ticket is gonna be $5. So let's try this. Let's try to run this one more time again to see. Are we gonna play with the age now? Let's say I'm 2 years old. So my ticket is free because I'm less than 3 years old. Okay, let's say I'm 13 this time around. Because I'm above 12 years old, I have to pay that full amount, 15 US dollar. Yeah. And yeah, if I'm 12 years old, let's say 11. Now when I'm 11 years, it's $10 for me because yeah. So basically that is it. And this last line here, it says thank you for visiting the theater. And now you're not gonna see this last line until you break out of this while loop. So the only way we can
Yeah.
break out of the while loop is to meet that condition which falsify the flag. So now we've put 0, and now we can now have the thank you for visiting the theater over here. So basically that is the gist of it. And yeah, so that is it. Yeah. Our key takeaway from this is that um, by um, um, by combining the input and while loop, you you can keep taking you can condition for static static scripts. That means you're looking for a specific thing from a user. It could be a password. For instance, if you turn on your phone, it asks you for the password. But because the password does not meet the specific script, that specific static script, it's gonna keep asking you. You're gonna keep iterating. Yeah, it's gonna keep iterating inside. Okay, yeah. So that's an interactive application. So that is, yeah, it's an interaction. It keeps asking you to put in the right thing. Yeah, that can handle dynamic data and run for as long as the user needs. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So that's the example we've tried. So thank you guys for watching this video, and thank you Arnold for being here with me. And I hope you enjoy
You're
this.
welcome, man.
Don't forget to
Yes,
subscribe.
indeed.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay.